Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely breathtaking, beautiful, profound, fabulous, amazing news. U.S. preparing to withdraw 5,000 troops from Afghanistan. Initial peace deal reportedly includes bringing home 5,000 U.S. troops. Trump to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan. Trump administration preparing to withdraw thousands of troops under New Deal. The Washington Post, U.S. preparing to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan, initial deal. Okay, with an organization that, well, whatever. If you say even certain countries, the algorithm, but you know the organization or the group there. President Trump made promises, and he's delivered on his promises. He's a great president, and this is exactly why I went from Bernie Sanders to President Trump. I look back now and I think to myself, and a lot of Bernie supporters too are probably embarrassed that I ever wrote to defend Sanders I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet according to the Huffington Post. I was the unofficial scribe, according to the Washington Post, of Sanders' most hardcore voters. The Daily Beast wrote a hit piece on me. Raw Story wrote numerous hit pieces on me. People who, they were like, you know, quote-unquote journalists who were obsessed with me because I didn't care about their nonsense and the fact that they wanted a neocon, interventionist, regime change enthusiast in Hillary Clinton, who lost like I said she would. By the way, she's running again, but that's a whole other story. President Trump is bringing home Americans, which is exactly what I said he would do. And this is absolutely amazing. If anything, he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for being the first president to step foot in North Korea and begin a path towards peace between North and South Korea. But let's just read this really quickly, then I'll get into my whole spiel. Trump admin preparing to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan under New Deal with you-know-who. The Trump administration is reportedly planning to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan in a New Deal negotiated with you-know-who. August 1st, 2019. In exchange, the organization would reportedly have to begin negotiating a peace deal with the Afghan government. The deal would also involve a ceasefire and a renunciation of another organization. Even worse, the proposal is the result of months of talks between numerous actors. Okay. Officials said an agreement could be final before Afghanistan's September elections, but also said there are still challenges. I would say that, okay, so this is happening under President Trump. President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, would have increased our involvement in both Iraq and Afghanistan. She was the architect of a surge under President Obama that even Robert Gates said she actually wanted more soldiers to be sent there than he even asked for. She was more hawkish than Robert Gates, a Republican defense secretary. So if you look at what President Trump has done, the reason that I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, or the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, is because I wanted somebody who was the antithesis of Clinton. I didn't know that Bernie Sanders was kind of an empty suit when it came to a lot of things. And he was a lot of hollering and a lot of shouting and a lot of kind of lightning in a bottle type of emotional appeals. And I was on the left at that point, and I didn't realize how insidious and sinister and duplicitous and disingenuous the left was on most things. And so when people started writing hit pieces on me, and people started, trying to disparage me all the time, I said to myself, well, wait a second, isn't there one thing that binds all of us on the left? That we want Americans to be sent home from never-ending conflict and quagmires back to their families for Christmas, back to their families for the holidays. Well, that's where I realized I was wrong. The left does not care about American soldiers or their families. The left in aggregate. I'm not talking about individuals, and I'm not talking about perhaps certain organizations or whatever. I'm talking about, in aggregate, Democrats, liberals, progressives, unfortunately, as a whole, do not care, nor do they focus or think or even ponder the notion of bringing Americans home from Iraq and Afghanistan or any theater of conflict. It is not a priority, nor is it something they even debate. They don't care. It is not important to them. It was very important to me, and when I was a contributor at The Hill, I wrote against counterinsurgency conflicts. And I advocated when I was a contributor to The Hill, and I advocated in the Jerusalem Post, and I advocated in the Huffington Post that Americans be sent back home. And I wanted some kind, that's why I wrote the article about Rand Paul when I was on the left. Then I went to Bernie Sanders, and people said, how could you go from Rand Paul to Bernie Sanders to Elizabeth Warren to all these people? Because anyone was better than Clinton in terms of foreign policy. Now, President Trump is a great president, easily the best president of my lifetime. And he is a non-interventionist, non-regime change president. If you're on the left and you care about an anti-war foreign policy, and your life isn't devoted around hating Israel, which is what the left is all about, their version of an anti-war policy is hating the one Jewish state in the Middle East. That's it. That's it. Not even realizing that there are two different factions between... whatever, I'm not going to get into it. The left is insidious in every way when it comes to foreign policy and a lot of other issues. Washington Post, U.S. preparing to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan. This does not happen with a President Hillary Clinton, who's running again, by the way. Marianne Williamson's Ghosts and Goblins aren't going to raise $1.2 billion. And ethereal spirits. Honey, it's Williamson's ethereal spirits at the door again. They want me to sign, donation. The agreement, which would require you-know-who to begin negotiating a larger peace deal directly with the Afghan government, would cut the number of American troops in the country from roughly 14,000 to between 8,000 and 9,000. So, possibly more than 5,000 to 6,000 Americans we brought home. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why I went from Bernie Sanders to Trump. And this is why all Bernie Sanders supporters, and I explain why Bernie supporters should vote for Trump below in the pinned comment. It's my article in the pinned comment. One of the articles in the Federalist, I explain why Bernie supporters should vote for Trump 2020. Don't worry, you don't have to tell people. Just do it. If you've had enough of the left. Do you think they're going to allow Bernie or Tulsi Gabbard, who's great, but Tulsi Gabbard has the same foreign policy, very similar foreign policy to President Trump. She wants to end quagmires and bring home Americans, which is what Bernie stated. That's why I wrote all the articles I wrote in the Huffington Post. Over 100 in the Huffington Post Salon, the Cleveland Plain Dealer I was published in for Bernie Sanders. I was a one-man public relations machine for Bernie Sanders, essentially. My columns, I believed at the time, but I also believed Bernie Sanders was a different person, and I also believed the Democratic Party wouldn't cheat him, that there was some kind of meritocracy, but it's all rigged. The people on the left who are like, let's debate. I think Biden has a chance. I think, oh my, did you see what happened at the debate? You know, these people on the left are clueless and they're delusional. Democrats are delusional if they think that anyone but Clinton is going to be nominee. Clinton doesn't care. And furthermore, he doesn't care what people think. And furthermore, she's a hawk. And the people who want interventions, the people who want regime changes, the people who want to send Americans off to everywhere on the planet as if it's like a Stratego board game or like some kind of Dungeons and Dragons, old school with the dice kind of campaign. They think that President Trump is, this whole nonsense about, they think that Clinton is great because she wants to topple dictators. It doesn't work out. The United States military is not meant to be in civil conflict, to be in between 2 factions or 5 factions or 10 factions in a civil conflict in another country. This is not what the USSR, it didn't work for them in Afghanistan. And unfortunately, because of a whole lot of factors, it'll probably revert back. And no matter what, we should never have been there this long. General Daniel Bolger has a book, Why We Lost. He said it should have, in both countries, should have been quick, decisive victories, and we leave. And then if you want to give money to, governments that we prop up, fine. But not patrol places where half to 2/3 of all Americans killed and wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan were the victims of IED blasts. But see, the left doesn't care about that. They care about tweets. That's why when Marianne Williamson talks about the ethereal spirits and elves and garden gnomes, she doesn't realize that all of the hate and all of the militancy and all of the lives who perished in Libya and families who suffered throughout the Middle East is primarily because Bush and Obama foreign policy and sprinkle in 4 years of complete dysfunction with Clinton as Secretary of State and militancy and interventions that didn't work, Libya being the latest one. Or actually, there are other, I can even go there. But you have the same people who cry and preach and judge and condemn and pontificate and they have their sermons on the soapbox of just verbal refuse. Oh, Trump's hate and bigotry. Trump's hate and bigotry. Oh, record low Black and Latino unemployment. Signed the First Step Act. Inmates are leaving prison. 3,100 recently. You have record low, 50-year low in unemployment. You have 1,300,000 or so job openings, more than workers to fill them. You have 500,000 new manufacturing jobs. So tell me how President Trump isn't a great president. The economy is great. Foreign policy, he has what you would consider a liberal foreign policy, or you would say a progressive foreign policy. There are people who devote their lives to just hating one small country in the Middle East, not realizing it's our only true ally in the Middle East. They don't understand these basic concepts. And they don't give President Trump the credit he deserves. They're always trying to downplay his achievements. They're always trying to ignore the fact that their side is full of the most two-faced, lying scoundrels. And don't worry about Comey not being charged. Stop it. He's not being charged. Oh my God. What do you want William Barr to do? Charge Comey for leaking classified memos and that's it? End of investigation. Let's just ride with that. You have Christopher Wray there. And by the way, one person said, oh, you said Clinton would be in prison. I never said that. No, those are the idiots on the message board. I never said Clinton would ever be in prison. I said she'll be indicted eventually. And I said she was going to be indicted, with James Baker and Lisa Page, top FBI officials, agreed with me. And James Comey lied under oath, saying, oh yeah, it was a unanimous decision. It wasn't unanimous. Clinton committed numerous crimes, transferring top secret and special access program intelligence. She committed crimes. Generally, when people do that, they get indicted. But I've stated eventually, after she loses, she'll get indicted. After she loses the election. And by the way, I also said I can imagine Trump pardoning her. I never said, if she can get indicted and the trial, I have no clue if she would ever go to prison. And I've stated that. But in terms of criminal charges, yeah. If people say, well, what's the point if she doesn't go to jail? It's like, nah. Anyway, God bless President Trump. God bless America. God bless you. God bless your family. If you're a veteran and an active duty soldier in the United States of America, God bless you and your family. And, you know, all the people who suffered, who continue to suffer. I've met, you know, I have a buddy who is an Afghanistan veteran, and, you know, he's told me stories, horrendous stories. He still remembers, you know, this horrendous story he told me about young people being taken away, and these are the Afghans who were doing it, and it's just horrendous. I definitely don't want to get into it here. My God. I've spoken to veterans, and they still have night terrors, and they still, you know, and they're succeeding, and God bless them. They're victorious every single day, and they're, you know, doing great things with their lives. But they have to, you know, while all the rest of the country is talking about election interference. Oh, Facebook ads, oh my God. Oh no. That's not national security. National security is bringing home Americans from endless quagmires. That's national security. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Definitely check out HA2A. That channel is moving, and I'm free to talk about a whole bunch of things on that channel. So check that out. It's below. And I'll have a wonderful segment on later today, on why there will never, ever be a civil conflict in the U.S. between opposing military factions. I explained that. So a lot of cool stuff I talk about on HA2A I can't talk about here, but that will never happen again. Unless a whole bunch of things take place which aren't even close to taking place. So people are, you know, the left is people on the left are trying to poke at people on the right, and, well, whatever, I'll explain it on HA2A. It's in the pinned comment below. Thank you so very much. God bless America. God bless President Trump, and especially God bless soldiers who are coming, hopefully very soon, coming home to their families from Afghanistan. And I want all Americans to just come home. People say, well, we were in Germany, we were in Japan. It's a little bit different. Those weren't counterinsurgency conflicts. And the everything from the geopolitics to the domestic political situation in those countries, completely different from where we have thousands and thousands of Americans right now trying to keep the peace in a place that, unfortunately, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that region, that country, it's not. We could stay there another 20 years, and it still wouldn't make a difference in the long run, unfortunately. And that has nothing to. That's not a disparaging comment about the people there. It just happens to be that it's a completely opposite state from the state that we have. It's not really an actual functioning state. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very much. If you want to support my voice, my Patreon is below in the pin.